I have pretty much experience with the JavaScript. I have worked on the JavaScript since I'm working since from last 4 years on the JavaScript.
Okay.
So I worked on Angular, and currently I'm working as an Angular developer only, as a senior developer. Also, in the backend side, I never worked on any JavaScript framework. I little bit worked on the Firebase or Cloud Functions and the Java, but not Node or something like that.
Okay. Okay.
But for client side, I have pretty much experience of the JavaScript.
On the
So
Angular part, correct?
yes, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Also, I went through the React before 2 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I have developed one small product by using the dummy APIs,
Mm-hmm.
but that was not so clear. So I thought like I would join the course with you, and so I'll have the same experience as Angular. You taught me as Angular.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So because
Hello.
Hello.
Actually, I don't have any experience in languages, any of the languages. I'm working as BI developer, Tableau developer, mostly on SQL and Tableau.
Okay. Mostly on the SQL and Tableau.
Yeah.
Okay. And any experience in machine learning?
No, not it.
Okay. Fine. No problem.
so our plan is like Vikas is my childhood friend.
Mm-hmm.
So he wanted to enter in the development. So right now, due to Corona, we are working from the same place. So he's thinking like if he joined the course with me, so he'll get some doubts clearance, or he'll get some advantages of the learning phase. So that's why he thought to join basically React course.
Okay, so I need to so why I ask this question, because where I need to start, because you know Angular well, means you are
Yep.
well aware of the JavaScript, but I
Yep.
need to go in the very basics of the JavaScript for the Vikas, right? That's why I
Right. Right.
asked the
Right.
introduction.
Right.
Fine,
Also, it will be useful for me as a brush up thing.
fine, no problem. We'll do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the beginning, we will talk about origin of the JavaScript. Okay, where
Okay.
exactly JavaScript came from. Can you see my screen?
Not it.
Okay, now.
Yes, now we can see it.
Okay. Now, what is the origin of the JavaScript? That is our first concern. We will see that thing from where exactly JavaScript has entered into the market and what's the need of JS. So, if you go to Google and I will search browser architecture. So, origin of the JavaScript is here. If you go to any of the architecture that you will find, and here can you see JavaScript interpreter is there,
Yes.
means JavaScript is for the browser based application, not is, it was for browser based application in the beginning, but adoption of the JavaScript was huge by the community. And at that time some people thought that why not to take this interpreter out of the browser and use JavaScript as the server side scripting language, like Python is there, Java is there, PHP is there, many others are there. Okay, so
Okay.
JavaScript interpreter is a concept of browser, remember that in the beginning. Now we will see why exactly JavaScript is required. Why exactly JavaScript is required, and from where we people think that JS is required. Okay, so let's go to consider this is also HTML page, right? This is also HTML page. Just try to click on the inspect. Just try to click on the inspect, and if you see, this is a plain HTML, right? This is nothing but all HTML it is showing. I hope you know these things,
Yes. Yes.
right? And here if you see, there are some means this is a inspector. This is nothing but what your UI inspector. Now Where is JavaScript over here? Now go to the console. Console will show you console will show you what you can say. It will show you about details related to the page, or things are happening behind the scene over here. That is nothing but the console. You know what is a console. We use console for multiple things, and this is also one of the console which is given to you by the Chrome debug or Chrome developer tools. Okay, now where is JavaScript over here? So you will get sources page over here. Now here you will find something called as string.js, right? The things which has been loaded. If you see something, a brave new tab bundle.js, okay,
Okay.
so one image is there, one JavaScript is there, another JavaScript is there, means this is a page, remember that. So we are discussing about this page. So this page has been rendered in the browser, and that page is having some data. If you see, this is HTML. See, this is HTML, and what things are happening? HTML has been loaded, and along with the HTML, few JavaScripts are getting loaded. If you see here, cr.js is there, loadtime.js is there, util.js is there, internationalization.js is there, and many other JS you will find. Now here you will find this is the HTML page, and inside HTML page, right, inside HTML page, you know the structure of HTML page. That is, HTML tag would be consisting of head tag, meta description tags. Mainly, just forget about metas and link and other thing. Mainly it would be having HTML, then title, then scripts. These scripts are your JavaScripts. Some of them are external, some of them are internal, right? Style tags, then body tag. Okay, so if I dissect your HTML, HTML would be divided into the little portions like head, then title, then style, then body, and body would be having some internal structure, right? Body would be having predefined elements, and that elements, what we can say, decorate your page. Likewise, here we have div. Div is nothing but what page division is. It's dividing your page. So it's a built-in element in the HTML which divides your page. Page division, div. I hope you know all these things.
Yep.
Right? But my concern is not that. Where is JavaScript here, and what's the need of JavaScript? HTML is by the nature, or by the intention, it is static. Once loaded, that's loaded. That's it. Means once HTML has been loaded, that is loaded. It will not change automatically. If you want to change something in the HTML, say title, if you want to change some title, right, here is a new tab. Can you see here? Here is a new tab. If you want to change it, you need to refresh it again, and you need to get a fresh HTML from the server, and then you need to load it. Okay, so that is the thing, main thing. Means whenever HTML is getting loaded in the browser, and if you want to change it, you don't have any option. Rather, going to the server, again changing some data on the server, and again loading that page into the browser, and then you would be getting refreshed data. But what about some intermediate things? Means page is loaded, and I want to show the counter on the page. What I want to show some counter. Means after, counter will begin from 10 to 0. counter will decrease from 10 to 0. Counter will run from 10 to 0. And I want to show one text box in the HTML that will run from 10 to 0. How do you do that? That is not possible in this case. Once loaded once HTML has been loaded, that's loaded. If you see doc type, it's HTML, means this is the HTML page. Once loaded, that's loaded. Okay. Now with this intention, some people came together and they thought that let's write one separate programming language. Remember that HTML is a markup language which will decorate your page. And other people say that let's come together and build something that is JavaScript which will dynamically change your data on the page. Whatever pages it has been loaded, in the loaded page I want to change the data. In the loaded page I want to change the data. That's what I want to achieve. So in the case of HTML, that's not possible, and that's why there is an invention of a JavaScript which will change the data in the loaded page. And how it changes, there are different techniques. One technique is nothing but what? DOM. If I go here in the console, if I go and just type, remember that this is a console. If you write 1 plus 1 is equals to 2, can you see the output? Hit the enter. This is a JavaScript console. Here you can write the JavaScript. Okay. If you write any kind of JavaScript over here, like eval is a built-in JavaScript function. You need to pass string over here. String can be evaluated 1 plus 1. Okay, so here in this way it will not work over here, but eval function is that, yeah, so this is related to some security issue, that's why it's not working. But whenever you have the HTML page, and script has been loaded, at that time you get some functions, basic functions that will help you to develop that page. One of the function is eval. Okay, and that is not working because of the security issue. Fine, but if you have your own HTML, that will work, no problem. Now what I want to show you, how JavaScript communicates with the HTML. That is the main question. And browser architecture says that every browser is having JavaScript interpreter. Just I shown you here, you can execute the JavaScript. That is nothing but the interpreter is working 78 plus 96. See, you will get the output. What is this? This is a JS. JS is working behind the scene. So there is a gap between your JavaScript and the HTML. Well, there is a gap between your HTML and the JavaScript, and your JavaScript generally doesn't know what is HTML is. And that's why some API have came into the picture. We call it as DOM API. What is that? DOM. I'm typically talking about the JavaScript which handles the browser related things. So if I go here, document, hit the enter, right? Can you see, if I make a document, here it selects complete page. If I click over here, it is referring to the complete page, this document. Now see, let me hit the enter. Okay, so document is one of the global variable. Document is one of the global, can you see, I'm selecting and it is referring to the complete page.
Right.
Correct? I'm
Right.
hovering over here and it is correct, and it is selecting the complete page. Now this document is a bridge between your HTML and the JavaScript interpreter. This document is bridge between the HTML and your JavaScript, and these things are called as DOM API, document object model. Now what do you mean by, just go here and expand it, you will get complete HTML over here. Means JavaScript or DOM API more precisely gives you one object. This gives you one object. That object is referring to your complete HTML. That object is referring to your complete HTML, right? And you can access each and every element of this HTML by means of this document object. I'll give you one scenario. Let's first understand. Okay, now what I want to do, so this Facebook I want to change. Instead of Facebook, something else I want to do. First inspect it. What's the element? Can you see this is that? Now I'll go here, I say ID, I'm just making it ID is equals to FB. Okay, enter. You got the ID as FB over here. Remember that. Now this particular paragraph, this thing has been decorated as paragraph in HTML. HTML says that I'm going to write this Facebook in one of the HTML tag that is nothing but what paragraph is. Okay, now I go here, I want to select that paragraph. Remember that I want to select this paragraph. So what I can do by means of DOM API, document.getElement by ID, and here I can select FB. Okay, what I can select FB. Just hit the enter and see what it returns. It gives you complete paragraph over here. When I say document.getElement by ID FB, FB has been assigned by me to this. Okay, so you are saying that please give me that particular element whose ID is FB. Now make sure that HTML doesn't restrict you to have a common IDs. So this image tag also can have ID as FB. Then this anchor tag also can have ID as FB. But it's the developer's responsibility to make the unique IDs for your elements. So here we have created ID as FB, and if you want to get the particular element, document.getElement by ID FB, and like this. Now I can manipulate it. The HTML has been loaded. Now see, I would like to manipulate it. Const FB. Let's get it into the variable document.getElement by ID. Simple JavaScript programming I am showing you. That is nothing but the FB. Right? Hit the enter. So you got the data in a FB. Now if you print the FB and hit the enter, can you see FB is pointing to this particular paragraph? Here we can say FB dot inner, it's a paragraph, inner text. Remember that? And here I can say new FB. Hit the enter. Can you see? This thing has been changed. Instead of FB, we have made here what? New FB. So earlier it was FB. Now we have made it what? New FB. So I have written some foundational code for the JavaScript. First thing means this is the requirement of the JavaScript. Why JavaScript was required? Because of this. You need to remember this thing. So thinking of developing JavaScript is this: communication between your browser and communication between the browser and your HTML by means of DOM API. And JavaScript has been intended to work with the browser, but most of the developers in the world are the JavaScript developers. According to some surveys, if you find which programming language used across the world, that is a JS. And by this consideration, they thought that why not to get this out of the browser and use it, right? And that first thing is nothing but what? Node.js. If you go to the Node.js, right, and about, see, or even in the home, if you see, Node.js is a JavaScript runtime built on the Chrome V8's JavaScript engine. Now go here, v8.dev. V8 is a Google's open source high performance JavaScript and WebAssembly engine. Just forget about this WebAssembly right now. Written in C++. It is used in a Chrome and in a Node.js amongst other. It implements Ecma Script and the WebAssembly and runs on the Windows 7 and later Mac, Linux, etc. Okay, so Chrome uses this engine internally, and this is the open source engine. It implements the Ecma script. Now what is the Ecma script? Is a standard, is one standard, and this is nothing but what? The language specification. If you see this, what is Ecma script? Is a language specification. Ecma script specifies the JavaScript. Okay, so Ecma script is nothing but what? The JavaScript. The specifications about the JavaScript. If you see here, many things you will find that you are concerned with. So you use these things daily. So how your object would look like, and many things. You just go here in this specification and you see. And this specification has been implemented in this engine. Remember that you can call it as Ecma script is JavaScript, but Ecma script just gives you the specification how your JavaScript would be. Okay, how the JavaScript would be is defined by the Ecma script. Correct. So you can go through it and just see that. And this is the Node.js. Remember that what I told you, in the browser there is a JavaScript runtime. In the browser there is what? JavaScript interpreter. That interpreter in the case of Chrome is this V8. In the case of Chrome, it's a V8. Now Node.js is a framework that is built on the top of this engine. Means see how similar they are. Means one and same. Now whenever you talk about the server side JavaScript, remember that you are talking about the Node.js. Whenever you talk about the server side JavaScript, make sure that you are talking about Node.js. Okay, now I'll show you whatever I have done in a browser. Right, same thing we can do, not related to the HTML, but calculations and other things we can do by means of Node.js. So go here and you can download it. I'll tell you how to download it little bit later on, but from here you need to download the Node.js. Okay, now I'm using Linux. So I have used one utility called as nvm GitHub Node Version Manager. If you are a Linux or the Mac user, this is a recommended thing. Means if you want to install the Node versions, what I'm saying, if you want to install Node versions or Node on your machine, then you need to work with the nvm. It's not the Node, remember that. It's a Node Version Manager. One script will give you the Node.js. It's a hassle free. But if you go here and download this and installation, which will take too much time. But on the Windows it's easy. Just go here and click the latest version and that's it. But in the case if you want to manage the multiple versions of the node, means your one project is working on node 11, another project is working on node 8, another project is working on node 14. At that time you need on your system, like it's a Python environment. It's like a Python environment. Means you need multiple node versions. At that time, you'll use NVM. There is no option. Right? And I have already installed this script on my machine. I'll show you now how to install Node on the Linux. Okay, I'm on the Linux, remember that. Now NVM ls remote is one of the command you will get, and that command will give you all the remote versions that are available out. It's a HTTP call. Internally it's a HTTP call. Just scroll up, see these many versions are available for the node, and you can install any of the version that you are needing. You can install any version. Okay, you can install any version, but if you want to install on a production grade systems, or if you are starting a brand new project, it is well recommended that you should build with the LTS systems, long term support. Right, so presently mine is this 14.5.5. now I would be installing 14.7.2. just go here, and here you can say nvm install and 14.17.2 and hit the enter. See, it will download. It will easily download the things. That's the use of nvm. And there is one more command, nvm use. You just specify your downloaded version and you will use that version in one command. Okay, so this is about Node. Now Node has been installed on my machine, and here you can say Node -v. Can you see 14.17.2 here? It's a 14.17.2. Here also it's a 14.17.2. Means LTS is on my machine now. Okay. Now see Node and just hit the enter. Can you see you will get a command, you will get a prompt. Here you can say 12 plus 16. The prompt you have received here, the prompt you have received, can you see here also you have received a prompt. Same prompt you have received here. Okay. And here you can do multiple things. Many things related to the JS you can do over here. This is example of how some smart people came together and they take this Chrome V8 engine out of the browser and they called it the framework NodeJs. Remember that, what is a NodeJs? So far what we have discussed origin of the JavaScript, need of the JavaScript, right? And then why we are requiring the JavaScript exactly, and then we discussed how and what NodeJS is, what exactly it is. It's a Chrome engine, remember that, open source, high performance. Google V8 is a Google's open source, high performance JavaScript WebAssembly engine written in C++. Remember that it is used in the Chrome. Make sure that it is used in the Chrome, and same is used in the NodeJS. Okay. Well, there are many other interpreters also are out there. Many JavaScript interpreters are available out there. I'll name few of them. Just a moment.
Okay.
There are many. Yeah, SpiderMonkey is from the Firefox. If you go to the Google, SpiderMonkey, see this. Yes, SpiderMonkey is a Mozilla's JavaScript and WebAssembly engine, right? used in Firefox, Servo, and various other projects. Okay, so there are many. There are others also that works with the spider monkey, right? So we have discussed two main or widely used. One is V8, that is nothing but the Node.js, and another one is the spider monkey. Spider monkey is the same JavaScript runtime, and you can work with the JavaScript like the Node. But most of the users for the production grade systems, they use this Node.js as their runtime. It's a runtime, remember that. There are multiple runtimes. If you JavaScript runtime on the GitHub, Deno is another one. See, another one. This is also widely adopted, Deno.js. It's like a node only, right? A secure JavaScript and TypeScript runtime. Then Node.js we just have discussed. Just very small, see this thing, very small V8 JavaScript runtime for Linux only, right? Just hello.js, like just something like that. And there are many, but mostly used is Node.js. If you go to the GitHub and see the stars of the Node.js, so it's 80,000 stars are there, and for the Deno it's 76,000 stars are there, right? So after learning, and see, main thing is that 58% of this is written in the Rust. Rust is altogether new programming language, right? 58% has been written in the Rust, then 22% JavaScript, and 19% in the TS. Now if you go to the Node.js, if you see, it's 58% written in the JS, remaining 25 in a C++, right? So this is about the Node.js, remember that. Okay, and we are not discussing the Deno in this course, but nowadays people prefer this Deno also, right? Over the Node, people prefer this Deno because it has a built-in TypeScript support, right? And that uses the V8, and it's built in the Rust. Rust is a new programming language, right? Which is as what you can say, as efficient as C and C++ is a new programming language, and people prefer this programming language for writing high-end servers. It's like a Go, alternative to the Go, or competitor of the Go also, you can say. Okay, so this is about, we discussed origin of the JavaScript, what are the different environments, runtimes that you are going to use while you work with the JS, right? Then what is a Node.js, how your DOM is going to work, right? Now just as a quick assignment, please assign date over here. Instead of new FB, you need to assign date over here. Can you do that?
Yes. So we can. Do we need to set as an inner text or?
Whatever. I just need to see date over here. Instead of new FB, you just need to have a date.
Yeah, we can set it by using fb.innerText equals to the date string.
Okay. And what here you will write?
Date string, basically the date.
Okay. Okay. Fine. Vikas, can you do this?
Yeah.
Just try to do this.
No, so we have to do on our browser, right?
On your browser.
Yeah.
So any HTML you can take. Likewise, I have taken browser's default HTML.
We'll go with the Google page.
Google's.
Yeah, Google's page. Fine. And in the text box of the Google, just assign the date. I'm
Okay.
muting myself for 5 minutes or 2 minutes, whatever.
Okay, sure.
Okay. Now we will begin our session with the Node.js. As per this, it starts with the React, but I would like to cover React little bit later on, and we'll start with the Node.js. Right? What do you mean by Node.js? What things you are requiring, and many other things we will talk on the Node.js. Okay. Before
Okay.
that, for both front and back, you require a JavaScript. Let's try to write basic level of JavaScript. Okay, let's try to do something with the JS. Now, for what you can say, for working with the JavaScript, I'm going to use the code editor. It is nothing but VS Code. I'm going to use which editor? VS Code. I hope you might have used this thing,
Yes, yes. I'm using Studio. Yeah.
code.visualstudiocode.com. You might have used this
Yes,
code.
currently also we are using the same.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Vikas, do you have experience with the VS Code?
In college time only.
Okay. So Visual Studio Code is one of the open source project. If you go to GitHub and see VS Code is one of the open source project, and which is completely written in the TypeScript. 94% of the code is written in the TypeScript. Okay.
So TypeScript is a language.
Yeah, we'll
like,
see that. I'm going to come back to that thing.
Okay.
Just we will understand what are the basics of the JS, right? And then we will go what's the need of the TS first. What is a TS is a little bit later part.
Okay.
Right. So first thing, we'll type the code in the JS. Then we will understand what's the need of TS. At what point you need a TS? If JS is everything, still if you use the JavaScript or if you are using TypeScript, still browser will understand JS only. Browser will never understand TS directly because your interpreter is of the JS interpreter and not the TS interpreter in a architecture of the browser. Okay, so I'm going to use this code editor. We'll talk about TS little bit later on. I'm opening it here, VS Code. This is one thing that we need to do. You need to download the VS Code as well. And I'm going to push all of my codes to one of my Git repository. So I will prepare one Git repository for you. And all my source codes or all of our batch source codes would be kept under this repository. Let's go to the new. And here I can say MERN weekend 10 to 12 or MERN stack. MERN-stack-training. And what I will do, I'll generate one ID for your batch. let's copy this. Not full I would be requiring, but this much. Just remember, this is your batch ID. This one is your batch ID. MERN stack training, because I conduct a lot of batches. But your ID is this. You just need to remember by this ID. This is your repository. Okay, fine.
Okay.
So all of my source codes, whatever I will type, you will find over here. Everything you will find over here. Okay, so let's clone the repository first. You also need to follow the same practice. So if you want to share some of the codes to me, you would be creating your own Git repository. It's 100% free. So you would be creating your own repository. You would be uploading all your practice codes over there, and then you would be sharing that with me. That is important. I'm copying this URL and just want to update it in the projects. Here I can have MERN stack. So this is the housekeeping. Only for first lecture it requires git clone. So whatever we'll follow the professional way. Okay, so I have cloned the repository. This is a repository that I have cloned, and I'll open that repository, open the folder, then projects, MERN stack, this repository. Okay, I'm opening that repository in my project. Okay, so we have this cloned repository. Let's try to create new, you can say day one. Just create a new folder, I can say day one, and into the day one I would be creating new file app.js. okay, this is your JavaScript, and here I can say console.log. If you want to console something, you are going to use console.log. Remember that console is also object. Likewise, if you go here and just inspect on any website and just try to print the console, can you see console? Likewise, there is an object document. Document is that object which refers to complete page, a rendered page. Document is that object which refers to the complete rendered page. In the same fashion, console is that object which points to the JavaScript console. Remember that these are the browser objects. As per the fundamentals, these are nothing but what? The browser. These are nothing but browser objects. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So there are few browser objects that you need to remember. Console is one of the browser object. Document is one of the browser object. Window is one of the browser object. I'll come back to that point little bit later on. As the concepts appear, we'll discuss those things. Okay. But this repository I have created. Let us see everything is working or not. Checking. Let's check it is working or not. And remember that I am skipping the semicolon. Semicolons are optional. Okay, just save it. And can you see here your VS Code says that I found something new you have added. So just give a message initial commit. Just push it. I have committed it. Just push it now. Push. And once you push, your code would be over here. Okay, day 1 initial commit and app.js. So whenever we would be having a session, I would be uploading codes to this repository, right? Another thing, if you get any query, just go to this repository. Meanwhile, in weekdays, if you get any query, just add the issue over here. As I get the time, I will update the answer, or we can discuss in the next session. But requesting you to update the issues over here, so we can have a track from the beginning to the end, right?
Okay.
That would be helpful for you only in the future. So I'm sharing this repository with you.
Yep.
So please bookmark this. Please bookmark this Meet link as well. Please bookmark this link as well. Even I will share you the YouTube playlist link as well after some time. Okay, where you will get all the videos. So this is where you will get complete source code related to the project. Fine. Now let's try to work with some JavaScript features. Now can you please tell me how do you define the variables? Vikas, how do you define the variables in a JavaScript?
JavaScript variable name.
Okay, like this. JK is equals to 10, correct?
Yes.
And console dot
JK.
log JK. Console dot log JK. That is absolutely correct. JK is equals to 10, console dot log JK. Now let's try to run this project. How do you run? I am not going to use browser, but I am going to use what? NodeJS, one and same. V8, remember that. It's a V8. There are some differences, we will see that later on. Okay, so just, I don't need this. Close it. Day 1, and inside day 1, open the terminal inside this folder, and I can say node and name of the file name. See, straight away, node app.js 10. Getting that?
Yes.
Node app.js, and straight away you are getting output. There is no compilation. JavaScript is an interpreted language, like a Java. Unlike a Java, Java is compiled interpreted. There is a compilation step and then interpretation. Here there is nothing like that, right? So more responsibility goes on the developer. So if I go something like this, right, if I do something like this and save it and just go here, and try to run the project, right, you'll get something like this. But if you do this thing in the browser, it will not give you any error, right? So this thing presently node is telling you that is not defined, right? Is not defined. But if consider that we are in a browser and we are executing this, browser is not having any problem with this until you use third-party utilities. And to avoid such mistakes, right, JavaScript says that use strict, right? Yeah, JavaScript says that use strict. Now see, I'll try to run the project. Can you see now? Now JK is not defined, it is saying. Because if I remove this line and if I save it and again if I run it, it will work, no problem. Even you write this like this, browser is also having not any problem to this also. Browser will accept this and it will move ahead. But it's a node, it is doing some internally. Okay, now use strict says that I am not going to allow variables which are not started with the var, because by mistake also you can do something like this and assign 12, right? Something like this can happen by mistake, right? And that's why JavaScript says that I am not going to allow you I'm not going to allow you to define variables in this way. You need to attach var keyword here. If you have var keyword, then and only then I'm going to allow you, I will consider this thing as the variable. See, there is an error. The moment I add var here, everything works well. That is the meaning of use strict. Strict usage of the var keyword for defining the variables. That's the meaning. Okay. Now how do you define functions in a JavaScript? If you want to define function, just attach a function keyword and name of function. Name of function. Right. So presently name of function is the name of function. This, and I can say hi would be name of the function, and console.log I'm just printing hi. See, I'm not using semicolon anywhere. ES6 says that semicolons are optional. So if you want to call this function, here you can say hi. Okay, and if you run it, see, you will get the output hi. How do you define the functions? Say hi. How do you define the variables? Var jk is equals to 10. What do you mean by use strict? If you want to define variable, attach var keyword, unless I will not consider this thing as a variable. The interpreter says you like that. Var jk is equals to 10, console.log jk, function say hi, console.log hi. So this is how you will define variables. This is how you will define functions. Any question over here? Both of you?
No.
Clear?
Yeah, clear.
Okay. So say hi and these things. Now, Ecma Script 6, it had some features. Or let's make some calculations. Function addition. Here I can say num1, num2. Okay, and here we can return the result num1 plus num2. Num1 plus what? Num2. Now here let's try to run the project, or call the function addition. 12 and 45. Remember that it is returning. So these two things are called as method parameters. These two things are called as method parameters, and this line is called as returning. JavaScript is untyped language. There are no types. For example, presently this jk is string, right? Now, sorry, presently this jk is number. Now jk can become string. Console.log, I can say jk. See here, jk is interpreted as integer over here. jk is getting interpreted as string over here because of the value you are assigning string. You are assigning, or you are providing, what you can say, string to the jk. Here you are providing number to the jk. There is no restriction. First problem, the need of the TypeScript raises here. First thing, right? So after this line, jk can become boolean, no problem. jk can hold the boolean true. Means till line number 5 jk is number, till line number 7 jk is string, and till line number 9 jk is boolean. But originally jk was number. But all these things are allowed. Now go to the NodeJs. See, jk can be integer, jk can be string, jk can be boolean, and like that. And this has been called, but we haven't accumulated the result, is equals to console.log result. Okay, now go to the output window. and 57. Can you see this? And what? 57. So do you remember I have used the eval function? I'll use that function, calculation, and here I can accept the string. Okay, there is no type, we haven't provided any type. Return eval, right? Return eval, and that incoming string I am passing as it is, calc. And let's try to call console.log calc, and inside this calc I can say 10 plus 2. 105 would be expected output. Just go here. Can you see 105? You are getting the output eval 105. See, you have passed the string. Eval function is that function which internally parses this string, operators and operands. Right? It parses the numbers, operators and everything, and it separates it, and then it performs the calculation. That is a eval. This was not working in the browser, but now it's working. So what we did here, we understood the use strict. This is the basics of the JavaScript. Remember that. Means whenever you write any JavaScript, you might need to worry about use strict, you might need to worry about the types of the variables, you might need to worry about the return types and the parameters, and you might need to know how evaluation works in a JavaScript. Then you might need to worry about how do you call the functions, how do you log the things, how do you accumulate the results, right? So this is the basics of the JavaScript. I will have this thing also, say num is equals to 10 before use strict. Remember that this will work. If you will not use strict, this line will work, right? But if you use strict, this is the error. So this what you can say, this file explains basics of JS, like variable, like how to define, how to declare variables, means take away from this file, how to define functions, then how to call functions, then how to accumulate results and evaluation. Okay, so whenever you write any JavaScript, you might need to worry about these things. There are many advanced topics also, but as a basics you need to know these things. So I am pushing the code, just go through the code on your machine, right? Here I can say day 1 and basics of JS. I have pushed the code, just open the link in your browser that I have shared and just go through the code. And you may ask the questions if you get any.
No questions for now. We'll
Okay, just type the code this much. Just few lines of code is there. Please type the code.
Okay.
We will go with the flow, right?
Okay, so we have to clone the repository and we have to type this code, right?
Yeah. So you just don't need to clone the repository. I'm just giving the link for the referring.
Okay.
You just need to see this line, you need to type the code. You need to see the
Okay.
code, type the code. You may
Okay.
clone it or you don't clone it. That's up to you.
Okay, sure.
I am stopping the recording.
Okay.
What I need to do, I'll create one more file. I need to get the user input .js. This is typically for the NodeJS, remember that. If you want to get the input from user, right, I can say where. Now I'm starting the NodeJS. Remember that. Again I'm come back to the ES6, but I'm starting with what? NodeJS. Now see, what is NodeJS we will discuss, but after this program. Node read line, I can say, is equals to require JS, right? Require which package? Read line package. We are requiring which package? Dot create interface. So you need to get the inputs from user, right? And for getting input from user, Node.js 7 provides a read line package. What is Node.js? We will discuss just a moment. Then I can say input is process dot stdin, then output is process dot std out. Okay, and then here I can say read line dot question. Can you see here? Question, read line dot question, and here I can say what's your name. I want to get inputs from the user. What's your name? And second parameter is a function. You need to pass function over here. I'm passing anonymous function with no name. So JavaScript can have function with name, function without name, and the variable that you are going to get input, that is nothing but that variable. And here we can say console.log, and I can say my name is, or you entered plus nm. Multiple things I have covered in this program, don't worry, I'll explain each and everything. And you need to close the stream read line dot close. Many things I have written over here, don't worry. So what we are trying to do, we are trying to get inputs from the user, and then we are going to perform some operations. Okay, so let me go here, day 1 ls-remove ls. So here I can say node user input.js. Can you see it is asking me what's your name, and I can say this, you entered Annie. Okay, so question here, if you are new, what is read line? This thing. What is this thing? That curly braces. So you will ask me a question at this line, what are these curly braces? right? What are these curly braces? Here you'll ask me question, what is process? Are you getting that? What is process? Now readLine dot question, you get that this is a function. ReadLine dot question, this is a function. First parameter to the function is string. Second parameter to the function is another function, right? So you will ask me a question over here, how we can pass, how can we pass function as a parameter? Function as a parameter. See what questions are here. By looking at this program, how many questions you get? Can you please ask? First, what is readLine? You will ask me a question. And before that, you will ask me a question, what is require? What is this require is? Why we have used this require? To the require you have passed something as a string. Remember that, work on the basics, right? Learning the frameworks and learning programming languages is not a big deal, but basics need to be cleared, no matter you are learning framework or a programming language. So what is require? What do you mean by read line? This. And why not write line? Why should I not write write line? And why should I write read line only? Okay. Create interface. So you get that create interface is one of the function which accepts these curly braces. What are these curly braces? Okay. Then what do you mean by this process? What do you mean by stdin, stdi out? If you have worked with the C, right?
Right.
We include hash include conio.h, right? std.h we include. Mains we'll discuss. Then readLine dot question. ReadLine, by looking at this code you will get that this is something called as object. Now in a basics of the JavaScript, right, there is a one thing called as where obj is equals to start curly brace and end curly brace. If you have something like this, we call it as JavaScript object. We call this thing as what? We call it as JavaScript object. Now what is JavaScript object? JavaScript object is that anything which would be having keys, can be absolutely anything, values can be string, values can be boolean, values can be other functions, values can be numbers, values can be decimals, whatever. But remember that while defining the keys you need to have some common sense, right? Keys should be the relevant. If you have object, we can say age is a relevant key, so here we can say 10. Then name would be hello, right? Then birth date. From the age I want to calculate the birth date, so this can be a function. Remember that function calc bd, right? Here you can calculate the birth date. Okay, here I can say algorithm for calculating, right? Algorithm for calculating birthday. Okay, here you have to write algorithm for calculating birthday, but that is another thing. What do you mean by JavaScript object is really important. JavaScript object is a combination of key and values. Key can be any arbitrary strings, values can be respective values in the types number, boolean, string, then functions, etc. Okay, so these things you need to worry. So presently you have defined object by means of curly braces and these. So if you see here, to the create interface, I have passed these curly brackets. I have passed these curly braces where input is a key, output is a key, and value to the input is a standard input stream, and value of the output key is a standard output stream. We know that computer is having input devices and the output devices. Getting that? Very basics of the computer: input devices and output devices. Output will produce the output, output devices will produce the output, and input devices, right, will get the input from user, like you can say barcode scanner, keyboard, mouse. These are the input devices. Output device, screen printer, right, screen or printer are the output devices. So whenever you have a motherboard, on the motherboard there are different buses, right, and it communicates with that part straight away. STDI in, STDI out, STD out, standard input, standard output. So here you are creating interface with your standard input and output devices. Do you agree?
Yes.
So the function create interface is actually creating interface with your motherboard's standard input and output devices. Well, motherboard is a too much technical word. You can say your system's input and output. Okay, it creates the interface with all that systems which are connected to input and standard input and output devices. Okay, now what is this read line? Okay, just go to the Google, NodeJS read line package. Now here it comes, the NodeJS. What is NodeJS? Now NodeJS is a set of packages, right? We call it as, so NodeJS is a foundational thing which is written on the top of V8 engine, right? It's an interpreter, and NodeJS comes with some packages, and NodeJS packages can be npm.js. If you go here, is a node package manager. This is what node package manager, where you will get variety of the packages. Read line, hit the enter. So packages are these packages, right? These packages, some packages comes with the built-in Node.js, some packages are the third party. Some third party developer came together and then they have written the some Node.js code, and that are nothing but these npm. This is a registry, means if you want to create your own package like the read line is coming from the Node.js itself. Node.js is giving you this package, official package, you can say, right? Node.js official is giving you this read line package. See, the read line module provides an interface for reading data from readable streams such as process.stdin, right? It can be accessed by means of this. So this is a built-in package, or you can say module, one of the built-in module of the Node.js. For reading data from input devices, you need to have this thing. Okay, then Then what I want to show you, what do you mean by this require? Remember that node is having different, whenever you install nvm install node, you install one of the node version. What do you install? You install these things only, these some default modules only. There are few default modules, or you can say packages. You install those on your machine, right? If you see crypto, many are their default modules that comes to you when you install node by default. And there are third party also. The third party packages are managed by the npm, node package manager. We'll see that node package manager, how exactly node application looks like, what are the components of the node application, and other things we will see. Okay, so readline is what? Simple node package. Remember that default node module or node package by default it is having. Create interface is a function which requires an object. That object is asking you what is a standard input stream, what is a standard output stream. Please give me the reference. Here you are giving the reference. Readline.question is a function that accepts one first parameter as string, which says that what's the name, whatever arbitrary string, you can write anything over here, please be relevant. And then it comes with the function, right? Remember that whenever your user input is getting completed, let's run the program again. Okay, user input.json, program is holding, this function is not getting executed. Can you see? The function is not immediately getting executed. This you entered is not getting executed yet. Your execution has on the hold. If you see, nothing is happening. So if you go to the readline package, just go to the readline package. Okay, now here if says that instance of the readline interface are constructed with the readline create interface method. Every instance is associated with the single input readable stream and the single output writable stream. The output stream is used to print prompts for the user input. Remember that why they have used. So this is about interface, creating about the interface. Now I just want to show you the question. Where is that question? So here query and the options and the callback function, we are discussing about this. A callback function that is involved with the user input in response to the query. Remember that if you see the question function, first parameter is a query, second parameter is an option, we are not going to use that, and third parameter is a callback. This is the optional one. Remember that you pass it or you don't pass it. Now if you see, this is a callback. This function is not getting immediately called. If you go to the program, still that function has not getting called. After you are completing, what's the name, here you can say Annie and hit the enter, and after in a response to the user input, this function is getting called and we are releasing the stream. You are saying that the stream is not required to me, right? So any question you have?
Not for now, but I have one question.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we are entering the input, the name,
Uh-huh.
when we run the script,
Okay.
so it will ask us the what's your name.
Correct.
And we enter the input, it will show us the whatever we have entered.
Yes.
So at what moment this create interface input output and the process thing will
See,
start
before coming to this line, this is going to get executed.
Okay.
Right? At this line, your interface is getting created.
Okay.
Right? And by means of what is the process, I'm going to come back to that point little bit later on. But
Okay.
just think that here you are connecting with the standard input. here you are connecting with the standard output. What is the process we'll discuss in a moment.
Okay.
Right, but answer to your query, at this line your actual interface between input and output devices happens over here, this line. Hello?
Okay.
Got it?
Yeah.
Or any other questions are there?
So how it will take our input and returning us the same output using the callback. Like
Okay, if you
how
see here, to the callback function there is a variable,
right.
right? This is your entered data.
Okay,
Means
so the parameter is nothing but my
input.
create interface input.
Input, yeah. For that,
Okay.
what I will do, to uppercase, I'll show you. So whatever you have entered, that would be automatically uppercased. So this is your raw input. Whatever you have inserted is this, and what we are printing the uppercase. Now you go here and hit the enter, and here you can say Android, and see your Android is in the uppercase, which proves that whatever you have inserted, that is nothing but this enemies. Getting that?
Right.
So your inserted data is accumulated by means of a callback function.
Okay.
After successful completion of entering and hitting the enter, this function would be getting called along with the parameter. The parameter is holding that value that you have entered. Correct?
Okay.
Hello?
Yes.
Agree?
Yes, I agree.
Okay. So
So
let's move.
can we say that function parameter which we are passing, the create interface will use it as a input and the output. Like we
Correct.
internally use that the
Parameter,
parameter
yes, yes.
which you have passed, and it will process them internally. So we don't need to worry about that.
Yeah, you don't need to worry about it. Whatever
Okay.
you have passed, that will give you the entered data.
Okay. Got it.
So this is your entered data.
Okay.
And by means of the callback function, it gives you entered data. Means this function is going to get invoked after you hit enter. Remember that.
Yeah. Right.
This function is going to get this is means your interpreter will come to this line, or execution pointer to come to this line executed, 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 come to this line and execute the partial code. The function has not been executed yet, right?
Right.
Function is going to execute in the future whenever user is going to hit the enter. Means your programming, your execution pointer is at this line, right? Or your execution pointer is at this line. Getting that?
Right.
And after that user has hit the enter, I'll show you something like that. Console.log reached this line. Now tell me the flow. What will execute first? This will execute first, this console, or this will execute first?
I think the second one, the 11.
11 number. See,
Yeah.
let us try to work with that. Can you see this? It
Right.
means programming pointer has reached to this line, right? And
Right.
after that, somewhat after that, user is going to type the data and hit the enter. And after that, this is going to get executed. This is nothing but the callback is.
So basically, we can say there is something or some kind of program is written in the readline package, and we are just using it here by using the readline package here.
Correct.
We are calling the methods from the
Yes,
readline.
yes. And you can see that code as well.
Yeah. And we don't need to worry about that.
No, absolutely not. It is abstract.
You know,
You
how
don't need to worry about the implementation of this readline.js.
Okay.
If you are more interested, just go here and see how they have implemented the readline. But you don't need to worry about the implementation of the readline, how they have implemented it.
How
What
they
you
are
need
processing
to
the input
know,
and how they are returning the output. We really don't worry about that.
yeah, absolutely, you don't need to worry about it. You
Okay.
just need to know how to use the functions,
Okay.
like how to use the question function, how to use another function. You just need to know that documentation, and that documentation
Yeah.
is easily available. But the
Yes.
internal implementation of the read line, you absolutely don't need to worry.
Okay. So the motto of this program is like how to use packages and how to use them in our Node.js or
Correct.
something. Yeah. Okay. Got it.
How
Totally.
to use the modules
Okay.
or how to use the packages in your program is a
Okay.
very beginning, right?
Right.
It is absolutely beginning. So I just have written the basics of the JavaScript, right?
Right.
These are pretty easy. And immediately after that I have written what do you mean by or how to get the user input, which is a little bit complex in the beginning, right?
Right.
And there are too much things to understand.
Right.
So so we have seen this question, we have seen what is read line, we
Right.
have seen what are these curly braces, we have to see what do we mean by process. We'll cover this point later on.
Okay.
And now question is that what is require, what is
Very required.
require. Now if you go to the source code of this, you don't need to go to source code actually, right? Just go here and see use strict they have used. Likewise we have used the use strict, and here you will find one JavaScript file is there. Can you see create interface is a function.
Right.
If you see, this is the complete JavaScript file. Means we have reached to that point where your JavaScript program wants to import another JavaScript program.
Okay.
Remember that. What do you mean by this line? Is directly proportional or is directly concerned with how to import one JavaScript program into another JavaScript program. NodeJS says that I am going to use internally require JS. I am going to use internally what? Require JS. Now what is require JS? Let's go to the home. Require JS is a JavaScript file and module loader. It is optimized for in-browser use, but it can be used in other JavaScript environments like Rhino and the Node. Using the modular script loader like require.js will improve the speed and quality of your code. What is require.js? Is a third-party utility for loading JavaScript files and the modules. So this, sorry, this is a JavaScript module. So if you want to load a foundational, can you see module.export? This line says that
Right.
this is a JavaScript module, right? And which is exporting these things, which is exporting these things. Now, this is the JavaScript module, and the foundation is that how to import one JavaScript from other JavaScript. You want to import one JavaScript from other JavaScript. That's what the concern is. So require is coming from require.js, which says that kindly load readline module, kindly load Angular package, whatever it is. Kindly load readline module,
Right.
kindly load whatever it is. Name of the package, and that would be getting loaded. Now if you see create interface, what is a create interface? Just go below. Can you see create interface has been exported from this module, create interface, and that you are importing over here. Okay. Now if you readline.create interface, This is nothing but the that create interface that you are importing it. Remember that. So readline is the variable which is loading the readline module by means of require.js. We are talking about this thing. Okay, so you got the answer of what is require. Then you got the answer what is readline. Then you got the answer this. Then you got the answer about this function. Right, now one thing is remaining. What is process? I'll keep this thing on the hold. Okay, before
Okay.
that, just try out this program. So
Okay, sir. I have one question.
yeah,
From the readline module, we have exported the create interface. Can you show us the create interface?
method.
Yes, the method or the program which they have written in the create module.
Yeah, see this.
Okay. Okay, got it. So here also we don't need to worry about the required JS or
No,
the
no,
file.
no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
So it's something like we have one package we have to import it
Correct,
in our program.
correct,
So this is the way where we can import it by using the require keyword.
correct. But
Okay.
you should know,
Yeah.
I'm telling you in depth by showing you the code here and there,
Right.
just to explain you.
Right. Right.
But while you type the code and while you develop the Node.js applications, you don't need these things.
Right. Right.
You
So
just need to worry about this much code, that's it.
yeah. So similarly, it's similar to the import in the Angular,
Angular,
or
correct.
and
Yeah,
we can
yeah, it's a TypeScript import only.
yeah.
It's a TypeScript import only. When you
Okay.
export and import module internally, this code is going to get created only.
Right.
Right. So
Right.
here we can say day one Node.js importing or user input. So what is the takeaway for this program? Let me write the takeaway for this program. Takeaway for this program is understanding of node modules. Understanding of what? Node modules. As an example, we have node modules. Here I'll make full stop. As an example, we have studied readline module. Okay, and there are many modules you can work with it. Node.js, and you can say modules. And I'm pushing the code. I just have pushed the code, go through the code, and requesting you to type this much code. Just get the user input. Okay.
Okay, sir. Also, sir, can we write our own package
Yeah,
here?
absolutely. We are going to see that. Don't worry.
Okay. Perfect.
Under you just start typing the code. I will putting this.
Okay.
Refer the Git repository and perform the calculation, that is addition, add, sub, division. So you just type this much code. Okay, just take the user input and try to do something.
Yes, sure.
Vikas, any queries do you have?
No.
Please feel free to ask me the questions if you get any query.
Yeah, yeah.
Some algorithmic like identify given number is palindrome or not. Given input is palindrome or not. Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so you are typing the code, right?
Yeah, we are typing the code.
So I'm pausing the recording.
Yep, sure.
So one thing is remaining, that is nothing but the process. This thing. Remember
Right.
that Node.js has one global object that gives you access to the many things like your input and output, and that global object is a process, right? So if you console.log process, and you don't need to require, so you can import process anywhere. If you want to get the command line arguments, if you want to get the node related information, if you want to get the releases related information, process will help you. And one more thing, process will help you in getting the interactions like stdi and std out, right? So if I run the project, you will get to know it's a normal object. See, this is a process object that has been printed over here. So these many things are there in the process object. It's a global object which holds module list, right, which holds many things, versions, node version is this, v8, right, and process dot in and out also you will get stdi in, stdi out. Yeah, see this, std out, std in. These are two things which will give you standard input and standard output of your system. So in short, this is a global object which will give you the data about what you can say your node environment, and many other usages are out there. So if you want to get information related to the node, you will refer the process. Okay.
Okay.
So this is about simple program, right, and the basics. Now what I want to do, I want to use the Ecma 6 script, right, but I will not use it, or I will not create just as a program to explain you, but in an implementation I am going to use it, right? So we will see on the next weekend. Okay, on the next Saturday we will start, and we will, on the next weekend we are going to see how to create different node modules, right, how we can create our own module, how to import that, how to export that. Related to that we will see, and we will be exploring some more node modules on the next weekend. Fine.
Fine.
Yeah, so I have intended this much, what you can say, content for this weekend, and for next weekend we will plan for some good many more things.
Okay.
Fine.
Yes, sir.
So meanwhile you keep practicing, right? Just try to complete these homeworks. Even I will put many homeworks on the Git repository also. Here I will put some homeworks so you can get the idea. I will paste some links also that you need to refer.
Okay.
Okay, fine. If you don't have any query, we can conclude the session and we can meet on the next Saturday.
One thing, sir, what will be our communication channel? Like, if you want to provide us some links or if
This
we...
Git only, I'll put it on the Git.
Okay, sure, sure.
Okay, so
Okay,
everything would be available on this portal only,
okay,
this repository only.
okay, sure.
And we can create the Telegram group also.
Okay, that will really help, sir.
Yes, yes, I'll create a Telegram group.
Okay.
Okay, fine. So shall we conclude?
Yeah, sir, sure.
Okay, Vikas, is it okay?
Yeah.
Fine. So I'm stopping the recording and ending the session. Thanks a lot.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.